Metal Gear Online, the beauty of stealth action espionage, brought to us all to play amongst each other as brothers in the Metal Gear Solid community. A game which defined a generation of players, devoted to the meaning of real online gameplay, which was unlike any other game of its time. Even Call of Duty and Battlefield did not stand in the same category as Metal Gear. With its third-person play and its ability to utilize stealth, and everything that we love from the Metal Gear game was utilized within the online functions that made it as amazing as it was. In the mainstream community was highly very underrated, and this game serves as a golden relic that hides away, but still locked away in the memories of good old times. So let's cut the introduction, and let's talk about MGO2 versus MGO3. What was the better online game? So in MGO2, the character creation system is quite simplistic. There isn't many options you can choose from in terms of facial changes, but there is a select few. The one thing that MGO2 lacks out on is character in-depth customization. There's only certain options you can choose from, instead of actually deciding full-on features such as face paint and other details. But moving towards the voices are very similar to the likes of MGO3, nice and simple.
Enemy sighted! Enemy sighted! It's the enemy! We got company! Enemy sighted! Watch my back! Wait!
So in MGO3, things are very much more customizable, as aside from choosing the preset hairstyles, which are quite limited, but there is a fair few options, such as like choosing for the eyebrow sections. There's many presets within absolutely everything on the facial structure you can choose from. There's a very decent variation too of deciding which beards you want, including the facial length and the hair color. Now when I say there's a preset for nearly everything you can think of on the face, that I was telling the truth on, as you can choose the position of the eye shape, the eye pattern, the eye color. The variation in what you're going for is almost endless. You can choose one color per eye and change the color of the brightness of the eye. Either way, I'm sure you get the picture. There's plenty of features you can choose from too, whether that be a tattoo or a scar or an insignia or face paint even. Whatever gets your character resembling whatever that is you like.
Rocket punch!
So when you're playing online, you're looking for an outfit, something that matches your kind of taste. MGO2 definitely takes the lead when it comes to the wide range of variety of clothing you can choose from. Because there's several patterns for every piece of item of clothing you can think of. Jumpers, jeans, jackets, t-shirts, there's a pattern for everything. And where MGO2 lacks in character creation more than makes up for it in terms of outfit selection. And for each character upgrade, there's some special equipment that you can wear on the headgear, which is absolutely hilarious if you're wanting to have a bit of fun out there in the battlefield. It's fair to say that MGO2 definitely takes the win here in terms of outfit selection. So things are a lot different this time in MGO3, as there's a bit more of a limited option in terms of what you can choose in terms of outfits than MGO2. But there's a reason for that, as there's different classes this time that all have their unique sense of style. And those classes will be the Infiltrator, the Enforcer, and the Scout. All three classes have their own different outfits to pick from in both head, chest, and body wear, each with different colors and different patterns. With Infiltration seeming ghosty and ninja-like, trying to infiltrate their way to the mission, with the Enforcer seeming more upfront and in your face and ready for battle, to the Scout more out of the way and covertly picking their next best options to take you out. So whatever the occasion may be, each class is dress ready for each occasion.
Run!
In MGO2 there is many assault rifles to choose from, but you will need a certain amount of drebbing points in order to afford them. If you go along, you can find several other different kinds of assault rifles, plus snipers and LMGs and shotguns, even shields. Remember, on most of the assault rifles you can have attachables too. You've also got a selection of pistols, grenades, claymores and different kinds of explosives, even the trusty magazine if you want to ensnare your enemy. Not every weapon is acquirable, but it is obtainable. If you're doing well online and you get yourself a lot of drebbing points, these will become affordable for you to use in the game. So we're talking skills for your character, and MGO2's skill tree is quite impressive, with 21 skill lists to choose from, compared to MGO3, which only has 7 skills in its tree. You get to choose whatever matches the kind of playthrough you're looking for, so it's worth having a read through the skill list and deciding which one you want to pick. Usually a lot of people go for assault rifle and runner, given on the fact that it's one of the most used in-game. You get 4 slots, which is quite a lot to choose from, but remember if you're using level 2 of that skill it takes up 2 slots, and vice versa, if you use level 3 for instance it will take up 3 slots. Although there is skills that will take up all 4 slots. So what do you think? Who does it better, MGO2 or MGO3? Either way, MGO2 definitely does an amazing job on the skill list as there's tons to choose from. MGO3 differing on the other hand, as you can only have set skills for each different class. Such as if I'm an enforcer for instance, there's only certain abilities that can be linked to that one particular character. Instead of being like before where you could just choose any kind of skill for whatever character you've made. Things are a little bit different this time round, and there is quite a lot to choose from still, but all apply to the particular class you're playing as. So what do you guys think? Leave me a comment in the section down below. Do you think that these classes are a good idea to have different skills with each class? Or do you prefer MGO's 2 more free and open experience where you can choose whatever skill for whatever character? In MGO3 there's a far wider range of weapons you can select from. Of course, just as the skills apply to certain classes, so do the weapons, with only certain weapons being available to certain classes. Such as if the LMG belongs to the Enforcer, it might not be there for the Infiltrator, such with a sniper rifle with the Scout and it not being able to be available for the Enforcer, and so on. Things are just a lot more better in terms of gun development in this game. In terms of being able to choose different camos and colours. If you want to make your gun look drip and based, you can make it happen on this game. So unlike MGO2 where you need drebbing points to use guns, one just simply needs to level up, and that's all you need. By the time you get to level 37 you've mostly unlocked every weapon anyway, and from there on you can then ascend into the Ascension, which will give you special items. I think it's clear to say that MGO3 definitely takes this one with guns, but then again, you decide. Let me know in the comments.
Shadow Moses awaits.
So MGO2 definitely takes the lead on this one, with a whopping 15 maps in the game. And it's said to be way more, as there was quite a few maps that were unreleased, should we say. Well anyway, let's jump right into all the maps in MGO2. So we have Bloodbath, a small and crowded map with both above ground and underground options for close to medium battles. And the now abandoned weapons factory that housed the Shagohod during Operation Snakeeater contained open areas offering obstructed views, as well as indoor and rooftop locations. Negotiate buildings of varying height in this urban jungle. This map was a remake of the classic map City Under Siege. And of course it's the famous Midtown Maelstrom, which some of you may remember from the Middle Eastern background features avenues crisscrossed with alleyways, and it is based on the area from the Act 1 of Metal Gear Solid 4. I personally had great memories with this map, and the SDM game mode too, Stealth Deathmatch. It suited this map perfectly well. And the war-torn ambush alley with this ominous grey weather. There could be anybody hiding in any corner or any alleyway, waiting to ambush you. It was the ultimate urban warfare experience. Now I know all you MGS veterans are going to remember this one. The City of Sorrow, wide streets and rooftop areas, suitable for close to medium range combat. And some of you are all aware that Coppertown Conflict is the remake of Browntown. Found yourself underground, huh? Well, Tombs of Tombs is the place. It's the ultimate underground combat experience. Just make sure it isn't your final resting place. And we also had Virtuous Vista, a South American power station, a natural terrain suitable for medium to long range combat, and it was based on the power station in Metal Gear Solid 4 when you was to meet Drebin. And we come to a cool map called Forest Firefight. It's a map with limited visibility and lots of blind spots, so it's suitable for a medium range combat style, but it's unlike any other map with its forest-like environment. So we come to Winter Warehouse. It's an abandoned factory and a 3-story building with rooms and connecting passages. It's suitable for a close to medium range combat with an easily accessible outdoor and indoor. And things can get quite crazy in Silo Sunset, as corners are very small and there's small passageways with tons of grenades going off in Nuke Silo, buildings of varying heights and underground passages, and it's suitable for a close to medium range combat. And now we come to the most prized possession, Hazard House. This place is an enormous 3-story mansion. It's such a unique map to explore, as there's different ways you can find yourself traversing through the map and the environment around you. It's suitable for practically every game mode available, and the one most charming thing about it all is it contains a lot of Easter eggs. and Ravage Riverfront, a clock tower made up of an underground, above ground, and underwater areas suitable for medium to long range combat. So in Outer Outlet you might feel like you want to go and watch a movie or perhaps browse some of the stores. Well, not today, because most of the time it's a full-on war zone. Icebound Inferno, an aged snowfield taken from the comms tower section from the famous Shadow Moses Island. This map is made of con towers A and B, a vast snowfield in which it's almost impossible to see through the raging blizzard. It's definitely suitable for long-range weapons. So there's no doubt, MGO2 definitely takes the win with terms of maps. There's definitely a diverse range of different terrains and backgrounds and all the environments that you can play for your playthrough online. So with all the map expansions on PlayStation Free, that was about it, 15 maps, which is solid, compared to MGO's free, which is very limited. But at the same time, we had way more maps for MGO2 we could have had, but sadly never got released. And sadly it was the end of our world because MGO2 came to an end finally in 2012. But luckily for us, it was resurrected by a team called Save MGO. A team of devoted players who love Metal Gear Online just as we would do the brave thing in taking the initiative and actually making the game finally run online, and it still has been to this day. I can only imagine with great dedication and hard work they put together the dream that once was. Anyway, aside from all the bootlicking, all the MGO veterans know what's up, and if you're new here or you're a lost comrade, then I'll leave the link down below for you to get set up. But on to the topic of these unreleased maps, there was 5 more additional maps that the team at Save MGO have put onto the game that we can now play. That gives us plus 5 more maps, pushing us up to a solid 20. To call this a competition is just silly. MGO2 definitely knocks this out of the park. So moving on to MGO Freeze maps, we have Jade Forest, an African jungle outback composed of natural jungle and desolate villages. Also acts as the main hub for free play mode when you're just running around shooting targets. If you ask me, this map is better experienced in its full form than instead of playing it in Rush, which makes it 10 times smaller, but is better utilized for upper classes. And of course, the infamous US military base, 9 years after the events of Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes. It contains a multi-level base with mostly flat and spacious surrounding areas. Anyone who's played this map realizes this is a classic in MGO3. Grey Rampart, a dam and its envisions. The stage contains 2 regions either side of the river with dam and bridges connecting them. This was one heck of a map, which you found all different kinds of battle taking places wherever the tide of battle was. It could either be on the dam, or by the dam, underneath the dam, or wherever you just didn't give a damn. Either way, it was a fun experience that we all had good memories on. And Red Fortress, a Soviet military base in Afghanistan, a hilltop base with a peripheral view of the surrounding desert. Quite a map. But let's not forget about the DLC, Cloaked in Silence, which gives us 3 more additional maps.
Step right up!
So we come to one of the most important points in anything to do with video games, and that is gameplay. The gameplay featured 16-player online battles. Players could upgrade skills that their character could use, such as hacking, SOP, CQC mastery, enhanced lock-on, and more, all of which would be leveled up. The player could keep tabs on allies and enemies with nanomachines. The SOP system from Metal Gear Solid 4 was implemented through a link system where teammates could connect to each other through a shared information, such as location and where friendlies are aiming. The system, however, could be hacked with an SOP plug, allowing the opposing team to receive information regarding enemy positions. The player was allowed to customize their character in variable clothing, face paint, gender, voice tone, ethnicity, and whether they were young or old, the player could collect reward points in gameplay to achieve more customizations for their clothing. However, all the clothing was simply decorated and did not change the gameplay or gave players a tactical advantage in any way, unlike MGO3, which gave you abilities once you had ascended in the Ascension. With the possible exception of using certain varieties of clothing and face paint to camouflage oneself in certain areas of the maps, which wouldn't work the same way as Snake's Octo camo. Plus, the player could also train other players in a training playroom, assuming they had the necessary Wi-Fi to host the game, and could choose which players they could graduate. Depending on the player's character, gender, and selected voice, they would each hold their own unique speech. This would affect your in-game singing voice too when typing in the command song. No one needs to tell you that gameplay is obviously the most important thing within games. Whether that be the physics or the dynamic of the game or how it runs and how things work. When it comes to player comfortability in terms of playing with physics in the game, I think MGO3 definitely takes the win. It's clearly noticeable that MGS5's controls is leaps and bounds in front of every other Metal Gear game, because anybody looking back on other Metal Gear games realized how difficult it was to switch between standing, crouch, and prone. Metal Gear Solid 5's physics makes it seem more realistic and easier to transition between movement. And not just with the movement, with also aiming and the controls, whereas in MGS4 they seemed a bit more stiff. And over time in MGO2 people adjusted to a certain style that would make them more accurate and shot friendly in battle. Because unlike MGO3's simple aim and shoot, MGO's 2 approach is a bit different, where you have to utilize the camera on the right analog stick when you aim to be a match shot, with, depending on what gun, has intense recoil which can make battle situations all the more engaging as you're looking for that finishing kill. Because the control scheme is so good on MGO3, it's a lot more laid back, whereas MGO2 is definitely hands-on as you're constantly moving and using your fingers, snapping between different weapons so you can run faster or in your box to avoid being shot. The combat on MGO2 was very engaging, and whilst the controls may not be as good as MGO3, they still hold up really nicely, as there's loads of different options and ways you can traverse in movement. So now we're going to talk about gameplay modes, with MGO2 having 12 and MGO3 only having 4. The rules in MGO3 are a bit different, and this time we call it Bounty Hunter. And there's a new option called the Fulton Extraction method, which all of you may remember from the game of Metal Gear Solid, which can be used in order to score more points in order for your team to win. So it's more beneficial, other than just taking out your enemy this time, to try and stun them to earn more points and send them off back to base. If I could count how many times there's been a game in Bounty Hunter where you're literally about to lose, and if somebody manages to get a Fulton on a target who is, let's just say, getting loads of kills in the game, if you take him out with a Fulton Extraction, the amount of points you get back are insane. It can be quite a difficult process while trying to stun the opponent, such as if they're an enforcer and they're on a rampage and they could take a shitload of damage, you're going to have a tough time. But if you're an infiltrator with stealth camo or a scout, you could utilize that and use your CQC to take them out in one go, and in which you're doing your team a big favor. So now we come to Cloak and Dagger. Attackers must win by recovering the data disk and uploading it at the evac point, with a time limit. Defenders will win by preventing the upload. Attackers are armed with only non-lethal weapons while defenders only have lethal weapons. This is an elimination mission. Once eliminated, you cannot return to the battlefield until the next round, and vice versa. But let's just say all the enemies die on the defending team or the attacking team, the game also will end. And in comm control, attackers must capture comm links to download confidential intel. If the attackers complete the download within the time limit, they are victorious. If the defenders are able to prevent this within the time limit, they are victorious. Comms links can be captured by staying within the effective range of the comms links until they change ownership. To put it simple, it's just like most military online shooters, it's just capture the base. So to finally wrap up MGO3's game modes, we have Sabotage. Attackers must destroy or Fulton the enemy missile before the round expires. To access the missile, attackers must first hack into the terminals to deactivate the electromagnetic barrier that is protecting it. Once the terminals are hacked and the EM barrier is deactivated, defenders can choose to reactivate the EM barrier to protect the missile from further being Fulton extracted. So MGO3 only offering 4 game modes, and whilst they are very exclusive and fun to play, they can get old quite quick. So onto MGO2. And of course we have good old TDM, Team Deathmatch, and MGO2 does this amazingly well. There's no enforcers, no infiltrators or scouts, it's just player versus player, each with their own skills and set weapon choices. As simple as it is, you take out the enemy, you get your points, you win the game, and you go home. Now we come to the Deathmatch, a complete free-for-all. One thing that MGO3 failed to do, which allows players to test their own skills as individuals. If it ain't our beloved Corrodon and Gakko, the duck and the frog. Well, the mission here is to capture the Corrodon and the Gakko targets. After capturing one of the targets, each team must take it back to their team goal and protect it until the timer reaches 0 to win. And now we have Team Sneaking, a battle between 2 teams with different gear. The sneaking team was stealth equipped and must eliminate all enemies or bring a Karoten or a Gecko to their goal to win. The defending team must defeat all enemies or keep the Karoten and Gecko safe to win. And now we come to one of the all-time favorites, Sneaking Mission, where one player controls Snake fully equipped with Octo Camo. If 12 players joined, one player became the Mark II and could support Snake. The Mark II was a stealth reconnaissance unit, very useful for this match type. Aside from cloaking itself, it could pick up dog tags and drop them off in another place, instantly knock out players with an electric shock, and display an image from Playboy magazines on its display, acting like a Playboy playmate, and disarm and pick up traps. Snake won if he collected a set of dog tags. To obtain dog tag, the player must knock out or held up other enemy players and then do a body search by pressing the triangle button. Other players could win by taking down Snake a specified number of times, if the time expired first. The team that had killed more players from the opposing team win. Rescue Mission is a battle over the fate of the Gecko. The defending team guarded the Gecko. The attacking team must bring the Gecko back to its goal to win. There was no respawning in this match type, similar to MGO's free Retrieve the Data disc. And we have a game mode unlike any other multiplayer online game experience. This one's called Race, which meant two teams ran through a set of 5 checkpoints with either a Gecko or a Karoten to win. Of course, it's not as simple as it sounds, as people would be competing to get to these checkpoints. Base Mission. Battle to control bases located through the map. The first team to capture all bases, or the team with the most bases when time ran out, wins the game. So arguably one of the best game modes in MGO2 ever, and I swear it defined what it means to have a battle royale for its time, with the circle ever closing in, and the first one there will be the winner before the storm gets them. Well anyway, SDM is a stealth deathmatch, and it was a game released with the meme expansion pack. It was free for all base game. It consisted of every player in the game, which was 16 max, all equipped with stealth camouflage. However, unlike Team Sneaking mode, all players had lethal weapons instead of non-lethal. The game area receded towards the center as time passed. Standing outside the shrinking boundary caused the player to steadily take damage. Each player had an alarm that activated when near the other player. The winner was the last person standing. Given this was an expansion for the game, over time it was free for players to use. But the beauty of this game mode is just like before the likes of Fortnite and any other game that was based around having the circle and closing, Metal Gear was the first of its kind to utilize this system. To put it short, this game was just way ahead of its time. So if you wanted to sharpen up your skills without ruining your score, Interval was merely a break from the stress of Metal Gear Online. Similar to the lecture mode of combat training, everyone was divided into 2 teams and was unable to die by gunfire or be knocked out. Auto matching hid this feature in its desired rules section until the player's soldier had entered one. A bomb could be taken and used to kill their soldier if held for more than 20 seconds. Stealing the bomb could be accomplished via CQC, grenades, or RGP fire. Bomb Mission, a battle to destroy or protect target areas on the map. The attacking team would claim victory if they could plant time bombs in the target areas and protect them until one of them are detonated. The defending team could win by protecting all of the target areas on the map until the timer expired. Last and certainly not least on MGO's 2 game mode list is the solo capture. All players must attempt to hold the Karoten for as long as they could. Whoever held it the longest or had it the longest by the time, the game ended and the person won. So that's it for all MGO2 game modes, but there, as we can see again, MGO2 is definitely taking the lead here in terms of the most important elements that make a great multiplayer game. There just never seemed to be a dull moment, as there were so many game modes we could pick from with our friends to play and enjoy.
Did you like my sunglasses?
I am lightning. The rain transformed.
So I'm sure anybody will agree that they'd love to see the characters from the main campaign within multiplayer. Just take Star Wars Battlefront for instance, one of the best multiplayer online games that allows you to play as the most iconic characters in Star Wars. Such is the same here as being able to play as a legendary Mr. Lightning Bolt, Raiden. For a game quite old like MGO2, but yet so refined like an aged wine, it was hard to find any quality footage of its time. but even now it still holds up and looks acceptable. If anybody remembers playing as Raiden, remembers how iconic it felt to play as such character, giving you the feeling of like you're near impossible to beat. So with Raiden's skills of sorts, he had the ability to move extremely quickly and can navigate through boost spots without a boost. He can fall from any height and land without taking any damage, and can see traps as long as the visor is not set to close. Raiden is a fun character, especially if you're facing Vamp. And now we have the immortal Undead Blade. Vamp, just like Raiden, can move extremely quickly and can navigate through boost spots without a boost. He can also fall from any height and land without taking no damage. Plus he has throwing knives in which he can throw at such speed which would take off most people's heads. And the best thing about Vamp is, when he dies, he is resurrected on the same spot you just got killed from. Once again, MGO2 taking the initiative with unique characters. So we come to Johnny, Mr. Crap His Pants, or aka Trapu Taco. He can see all traps and remove them within enough close proximity, but he cannot perform an SOP link, and he's unaffected by SOPs, which means he cannot be marked on the radar, or nor Liquid Ocelot's ability to mark people with SOP is no good against him. And let's just say if you get 3 consecutive kills, Johnny has an accident in his trousers which any player goes near that stench will automatically be obsolete, in which then you can take them out.
Liquid!
So we come to Liquid Ocelot, or shall I say Ocelot pretending to be Liquid. Liquider is a master of CQC. Instead of kicking while doing the CQC combo, he will instead punch hard and straight into the victim's face. Holding R2 when doing the combo will make him headbutt his victim. When Liquid grabs an enemy, he can also shock them, instantly knocking them out. He can prevent the enemy from shooting for a short time using the guns of the Patriots. Only Liquid has this weapon to use. Pressing R2 while aiming with the GOP causes all enemies from a short distance to be immobilized and causes them to go through mood swings. When Liquid Snake sees Old Snake, he will shout, "Snake!" If he kills Snake, he will say, "Predictable." When shot in the head by Snake, he will say, "You're pretty good," and die. But that's not all from Liquid Ocelot. Just when you think the game's about to end and yes, time is over, well, you'd be wrong. It's not over yet.
Raw? Oh! Shouldn't have killed Liquid!
Exactly whose fault? That won't work this time.
So that's right, just when the game's coming to an end and people think that it's all over, when Liquid is down and he revives, he gives the team additional 1 more minute to play with, giving you the winning chance.
Nobody is going to die on my watch. This ship is going back to Hawaii in one piece. That, I promise.
So it's the cute and sweet Mei Ling that we all remember from the MGS1 codec calls, now brave captain of the ship Missouri, which she can be used in the game MGO2 Online. She has no guns and other abilities, but she does have one pretty sweet one under her sleeve, which is the Missouri. Imagine Call of Duty's airstrikes, but unlimited.
I wanted you to turn around and see who I was.
Meryl Silverborough, the hottest character in Metal Gear Solid. Well, you guys are probably going to disagree, but that's a video for another day. Aside from looking the part, she can also back it up with combat skills. Meryl is a fiery leader. She gives people psych, should we say. Their stamina gauge goes up when they're around her. Not only that too, when she's using CQC, instead of a low kick, it is replaced by a high roundhouse kick. And plus, she can issue silent commands without giving away her position when equipped with a handgun. And she has the ability to equip 2 handguns at the same time, firing both 50 cal Desert Eagles. One heck of a woman, if you ask me.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
Snake is available when playing the sneaky mission rule and will be randomly assigned to a player at the briefing mode screen. When playing as Old Snake, players must work alone or alongside Otacon as he pilots the Mark II or an additional player. Snake has several unique abilities empowering him with far beyond ordinary soldiers. While remaining still, Snake can use the threat ring to monitor the movements of nearby soldiers and dangers including gunshots and grenades and explosions. In addition, he is also equipped with the Solid Eye, which also serves to detect the nearby enemies and dangers, but displays them in an easier to read visual form. and when Snake draws a weapon behind an enemy in close proximity, he can perform a hold up. As long as the enemy is held up, Snake can perform a body check to completely disarm the enemy. Not only that, Solid Snake is practically invisible with the Octal camo, and even for his age is still quite speedy. He can place traps quickly and is very proficient with CQC. While Old Snake can be affected by Liquid Ocelot's GOP, he is undetectable via SOP, rendering Narc and Monomania useless against him. Despite this, he can utilize a scan plug if he's captured an enemy. And we have the Mark II, which is being created by Sunny and Otacon. And in lore sense, Otacon is the one who's piloting the Mark II. This has some special range of features that help Snake along with his mission, both in story and online. It has practically unlimited stealth, and you can do all kinds of mucking around online, such as using a shock function to take out enemies, and perhaps if you're playing as Snake, find out where that enemy is and finish him off. So once again, MGO2 looking very victorious with up to 8 special characters compared to MGO3, which is free characters. So let's take a look at what MGO3's free characters are.
When the time comes, I'll pull the trigger.
One of the all-time favorites, Venom Snake. What more can be said apart from this guy is just as good as Big Boss, with different loadouts from which Snake can choose from. Venom has the ability to use Rocket Punch, which is OP in battle situations, which means you can take out a fair few enemies and sit back and watch the magic happen.
That was some fancy shooting. Pretty good.
Some call me Shalashaska, also known as Revolver Ocelot. Trust me guys, there's a reason why Ocelot is one of the main antagonists in the game. He is just that damn good. Aside from all the things we didn't get to see in Ocelot in terms of MGS5's cutscenes, more than makes up for it online, because this guy is just kick-ass. Not only does he have 2 huge Magnum-style revolvers in which he can use the bullets to ricochet off any kind of environment he needs, being quite a force to be reckoned with in battle. It's recommended you stay out of Ocelot's way, unless you find a way to get the drop on him. There is no doubt this triple-crossing, revolver-holding, cowboy-wearing badass is one of MGO's greatest installments.
Vengeance was what drove me to them. The only language left to me. Revenge.
So now we got Quiet, and she came with a part of the expansion called Cloaked in Silence. Love her or hate her or not, this character utilization in-game is beautiful, as she is by far the most agile and is faster than anyone in MGO2 online, including basic characters and even the special characters. She also has the ability to jump and climb without any effort at all. She may be quiet vocally, but in battle she can really stir up an earthquake. That brings the tour to the grand conclusion, which is, guys, which one is better, MGO2 or MGO3? Both equally in their own right served a great memory for us to all remember, in which every kind of feature within that game we loved. There's no doubt that both of them have their own special place and deserve their own right to hold the title. But guys, there can only be one champion. I'll let you be the decider, but given on the gameplay, all different aspects that we've seen, looks like MGO2 could be the winner. Either way guys, you be the deciders. This has been the Voice Box, and that's all.